Masters Week on Extra Holes, a tradition like no other. Here's what's on the agenda. We got a busy week. Recapping the past, Billy Horschel grinds his way to a win over local favorite Scotty Scheffler at the match play in Austin. Dallas resident Jordan Spieth drives down to San Antonio and wins the Valero Texas Open and snaps his 4-year win drought. With his consistent play in the last 5 tournaments, Jordan has to be one of the favorites as the 2-time winner of the Masters. We'll recap last week's tournament. We will talk about the favorites. Who's it going to be? JT, Spieth, Rahm, Rory, Bryson. Who are your long shots? Lee Elder finally gets recognized. He joins Jack and Gary to hit the first shot. Last major played was the Masters in November. We're going back to back. How will the course differ from November to April? Hearing it's going to be firm and fast. Chairman Ridley gives his state of the state about the golf course changes and the voting stance in the state of Georgia. But Scotty, we got breaking news on Tiger Woods.
We do, John. I know you were trying to go out and support the economy and working today. Didn't get a chance to see it, but I just happened to catch a peek. The LA County Sheriff's Department did an actual press conference, which is very unusual for this set of circumstances. And they came out and they only could do this with Tiger Woods' permission, but they gave the circumstances of the crash. They gave some of the details. He was going between 84 and 87 miles an hour when he went off the road. And we talked about it in an earlier podcast about that was a real sharp turn, a crazy road. And supposedly when he hit the tree, he was going at least 75, but his foot they thought was going to go on the gas or on the brake, but it actually went down on the gas. And so since then, we've had every kind of wannabe expert and some of the real experts, speculating on what actually happened and what could have happened. And the sheriff's department, the spokesperson did a fantastic job of explaining, just saying, hey, we treated this case like every single other case. We gave it no preferential treatment. We had video of Tiger. They had video of him leaving, I think, the golf course, putting his clubs in the car. He drove away normally, stopped at a couple stop signs normally, stopped at a traffic light normally. And so they appeared to have no impairment at all. And he just went through his whole, without going through what he said completely, he went through the whole protocol, said that they do this thousands of times a year, and that they actually interviewed Tiger at the hospital in the emergency room. And while in shock from his, life-threatening injuries, they said he was coherent, didn't seem to have, anything scrambled thoughts or didn't slur his words or anything like that. So subsequently, Tiger sent, I think, a tweet out, I think he sent a tweet out basically thanking the first responders, the sheriff's department, and everybody else for all their wonderful care. And in my opinion, he shut the book on it, put it to bed, and I hope everybody else does too, because it was a terrible thing. And I still think that we're lucky to have Tiger Woods around, and I'm sure it'll be a little bit more talk this week around the Masters about it. But it was good to hear that maybe there's a little finality to it.
Yeah, when I heard, we talked a little bit off air prior to this, and I got to be honest with you, that those roads, that is absolutely flying. I mean, going 55 miles an hour on those roads is going fast.
They said he was going 45 over the limit.
Yeah, that is.
It must have been 40 miles an hour.
I mean, only a NASCAR driver could handle that. So, again, hopefully, like you said, this is the end of it. They came out. I think they're trying to put this thing to rest. Just hope he's doing better. It sounds like he actually is doing pretty good, actually.
Rory went visiting this week.
And some of his close friends to come by and visit him. And so hopefully he's on the up and up. But I still think, after just, even just discussing things with Dr. Chris, I think he's still in for a long haul here with I think more surgeries probably to come. And
all right, I agree. Let's move on because I'm so damn excited about the Masters this week.
Well, yeah, let's real quick. I know that we're going to do a little, Horschel, just a grinder. Winston beats Scotty Scheffler, the local guy in Texas, in the match play. I mean, that was a lot of golf for everybody. Yep. I don't think the play was that good in the final.
I agree.
Because of all the golf he had to play. And, it's always good to finally, see a little match play. Jordan continues his great play. He comes down to the Valero Texas Open and plays great and gets off the snide there and wins himself the event there. And Charlie Hoffman giving a little push at the very end and made him earn every single thing.
Yeah, it was fun to watch.
It was great for golf. Great for golf that Jordan won. So
it was fun to watch the match play, even though I agree the golf was kind of shitty. I like that Austin Country Club. There's some fun golf holes. It's a fun match play course. The Spieth win, is just excited. I think he's a great guy for golf. I think he's a great guy in general. And him winning in Texas, it was also nice to see both at the match play and at the Valero. Nice to see fans. Nice to hear cheering.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear fans again. And it'll be interesting to hear in a few minutes when we talk about the Masters, how many patrons they end up letting in to Augusta, which has kind of been a tight, kept number. But yeah, good couple of weeks. I was excited for Spieth's win and certainly am even more excited for what's ahead of us at the Masters.
Yeah, getting on that little patrons thing that you're talking about, Ridley did not comment on a certain number or a certain percent. They're just going to try to, it's limited fans. That's all they're saying.
Right.
They're not allowing you to keep your seat. You can't set your seat down and let it sit there like on the 12th hole. They're saying if you leave, you got to pick that up. He did come out in his speech and say that this is only during the COVID. This is not going to be the rules for the future, that down the road when they're allowed to open it more up, they will actually allow them to go back to normal. Again, that's kind of on the patron thing. Unfortunately, no par 3 tournament. I love this day.
I know.
I think it's always a fun day. It really brings family into it. Gary and Jack love playing with, Watson and those guys. And it's a tough one. It is what it is. We're just lucky that the tournament's going on. But yeah, I'm really excited about the tournament. It's just really weird that the last major we had was the Masters. That's pretty weird. And here we are 5 months later. And a lot of these players are even coming out and saying, I'm not even keeping my notes from November. It's a completely different golf course. It's been soft. And the word on the street all this week was they're seeing purple in the greens. They're starting to see brown in the greens. Like they want this thing to be firm and fast. Scotty, you just mentioned to me, I think the reason why they're burning them out is because you think there's some weather to be coming their way, possibly.
Yeah. Before we dive into the course and the players, I wanted to just touch on again in Ridley's State of the State. He always, it's interesting how the golf community, the golf world, if you will, looks to Augusta to be the trailblazers on stuff, even though they're not a ruling governing body. It seems to be that the RNA and the USGA, they won't sneeze or cut a fart unless they, call Augusta first. Right. And so it was interesting hearing him talk about some of the things about, the distance of the courses and the golf ball and the equipment. And the other thing that I thought he did a tremendous job of dodging a question was, one of the reporters asked him about the Georgia voting laws and what the stance of Augusta was on that. And I think you had mentioned that he dodged it, gracefully and basically just said, hey, citizens of the state of Georgia and the United States, they have the right to vote and they have the right to their opinion, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And basically, it was next subject. And I thought it was interesting, John, because Commissioner Rob Manfred from baseball pulled the All-Star game this past week and out of Georgia, and because of the voting laws, which I don't want to get into politics. I don't agree with it, but every person does have their own opinion. It is interesting, however, that same Rob Manfred, that commissioner of baseball, who was taking a stance because of these reasons, happens to be a member of Augusta National in Georgia. So go figure. And then a PR nightmare for them. They moved it to Denver, and it turns out Colorado has basically the same voting laws. So I'm anxious to talk to the Masters. I don't want to get into that political part of it, but it is worthy of mention.
Yeah, and he was very, very firm on when a reporter kind of said, "Well, are you for it or are you not for it?" And he just went, "You more or less just heard what I had to say. Next question," type of deal, right? He just wanted just make a statement, and he was done. He didn't want to get into the back and forth situation. Again, prior to another, great sign this year is Lee Elder is gonna. He was the first Black man, African American, to play in the Masters, and he is now going to join Gary and Jack Nicklaus on the first tee to hit the first golf shot. I think it's great. There are some other positives that has happened with asking Lee to come on board, and he Payne College, which is an all-black college, is right there in Georgia. Through the Augusta, I think it's the Augusta Foundation, if I'm right, has now added 2 Lee Elder scholarships, one for the men and one for the women's golf team over there. And then Payne College also added him and gave him his an honorary doctorate. And he was just beyond amazed by that. And so, I mean, just a great decision by all. I think it's great for golf worldwide. Again, Augusta stepping up and doing the right thing there, and very happy for that whole little category when it comes to what's happening this week.
Yeah,
so.
I agree with you. You know, it's about time that they recognize the African Americans in golf, especially in that area. And being a member of Palmetto Golf Club over in Aiken, which is a small 25-minute drive over to Augusta, you know, it is important to recognize the past, and that, you know, Augusta National didn't allow a Black member in for a long time. They didn't allow a Black member in until the 60s to even play in the tournament. And then I don't think that they had a African-American member until, you know, I don't know the exact date, and I should know it, but I want to say it was the 90s. So
yeah, late 90s, I think.
But to their credit now, I think that they've realized, you know, it's no different being a Catholic kid and sinning and going to confession and you know, coming out the clean slate and then doing good. And I think that they have done tremendous things with their, you know, they have the drive, chip, and putt deal, which is coming up. Or was it last weekend? Wasn't
No,
it?
it was on Sunday. Yeah, did a great job. And I love that how past champions come. Bubba's a big supporter of it. I love that they come out and just, you know, give the kids high fives, and Danny Willett gets involved, I think, also. I just think it's great. For again, and there's another notch in Augusta's belt, right? The country club or the foundation, however, just now, you know, little, you know, then they have the women's amateur, right? Prior to that. So I think just that they're doing a hell of a job and bringing everything into play here for,
I agree.
Like you say, the most prestigious, you know, club around, to be honest with you.
Everybody calls it. So when you're down in that area, they don't call it Augusta. They don't call it the Masters. They just call it the National.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the National? I mean, that's what they call it, the National.
Yeah.
So tell me what you think about the golf course. Well, how are we going to, you know, the rain coming in, it's going to make it different, but certainly it's going to be different than what we saw in November, right, Johnny?
Yeah, well, I think another thing too is I think at the very beginning of the week, these guys were talking about like they're going to miss these storms, right? So they were just everybody was talking about how firm and fast. It's the firmest and fastest they've ever seen it, the players, right? But now, like you mentioned, I think they're starting to see a little bit different rotation in this weather. And now they're talking about Friday and Saturday night, maybe getting a little weather that will soften it up. So I'm wondering that they are trying to bake it out to where if it does rain, it's still not going to be as soft as it was, because with the way the grass is in November than it is in April, it's so soft. These guys were throwing darts at it from, you know, 210 yards away, where the way the golf course is playing now, it's now all about the angles. It's all about the roll. It's all about how you're going to play the breaks and how fast it's going to be. So,
the one thing, and I can't tell you this for the fairways, but I'm pretty sure I know the greens for sure, but you know, they have all those drainage systems, and they can heat stuff up, cool it down. They can suck water out. So if there's any one course on the planet that can actually plan for bad weather and still try and maintain the course setup they want, it's the National for sure.
True, but they tried to do that in November and it still played soft. They said you could hear everything underneath you going, but it was still soft. So hopefully it's going to rain, but it's not going to rain that much to where you know it can. I want it to be firm and fast. I really do. I want this to be, you know, a 10 to 12 under par type of win. I would love for that, you know.
I've got actually on two of my pools I picked, I've got 11 under par as the winning total. And the only bummer about the rain is I just don't want to see it get rained out, because you get so geared up and juice to watch it on Thursday and Friday, and then on the weekend. That if all of a sudden there's a rain delay and they're playing, you're just like bummed because you set your alarm to it.
Yeah, but I think well, the weather report says PM showers, so I think it's just a little bit of a hit, to be honest with you. Hopefully, and they wake up and it's
listen.
Although
I played
in Southern
yesterday.
California,
yesterday there was a forecast for rain like all afternoon, and it never rained. Today was supposed to rain all day. Ended up being 75 and partly sunny most of the day. So, if you had to be as right as a weather forecaster and that you're living dependent on it, I wouldn't make very much money, and I don't think many people would. So anyway, forget about the weather. Let's talk about the field.
Yeah, so we got DJ defending. He's coming off the record 20 under par, which, a lot of people say that probably will never be broken again. He champions dinner. He's got pigs in the blanket with lobster corn fritters. He had the house salad and Caesar salad, mashed potatoes, spring veggies, filet mignon with sea bass, and a peach cobbler and apple pie. That sounds right up my alley. I would have loved to sit in that little room there and have that little meal.
So first of all, it's not a little meal, and second of all, would you had all the above, or would you had the sea bass or the steak, or
I probably would have went with the fillet. Yeah, I probably went with the fillet.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
With the peach
I love
cobbler.
sea bass.
Yeah.
So.
But I think it's going to be tough. That's the other thing. He's been very quiet. He hasn't been playing for the last couple of weeks. I don't know if that's kind of in the plan there and the prepping of it, but. I would have liked to have seen him play maybe in the match play. Or did he play in the match play?
I think he did play in the match play, didn't he?
Yeah. So
but it was, I watched him on an interview and I thought it was interesting because he was super duper calm, which, he looks like he's smoked a bowl every time he talks anyway, just because that's his personality.
Right.
And he said, he goes, I don't feel the pressure to have to win. I've already won here. And I'm telling you what, we start talking about the DJs and the Spieths and the guys that have already, got a green jacket in their closet. And I have to believe, based on the small success I've had on a very lower level, that when you actually win an event, it's a whole different mindset when you show up on Thursday morning, put the peg in the ground, because you've done that. Your body has gone through those emotions of being able to hit the shots and win the golf tournament.
So let me ask you another question that I was thinking about. When you win in April, you come back and you get to put the jacket on somebody the next April. He won in November. He only had a 5-month stint of being the Masters champion. So he doesn't even get a full year to be able to, be the Masters champion. He only gets 5 months. So
John, that's true. But the deal is he's a Masters champion for his lifetime. He gets to go to the dinners every year. He's an honorary member of Augusta. So it is kind of getting slighted, but the big scheme of things, not so much.
Looks like you have to pay the bill too. Tiger put a tweet out there going, "I'm going to miss charging up DJ's bill tonight."
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
Yep, I saw that. So who else do you favor?
Oh, you also got Bryson, right? He's going to try to overpower the golf course. Again, he's talking about angles that he's going to take on 1 and 2, and he's going to try to drive the green on 3, and he's going
oh my God, did you see him hitting balls on the range?
Oh yeah, just absolutely Mach 15 or whatever he was trying to swing it on. Yeah, unbelievable.
He's got to wear Depends or something, because it looks like he's going to load up his britches every time he swings so hard at it.
Vijay Singh was just laughing like this.
I saw that.
Yeah, this guy's nuts. Yeah. But I'm just wondering, is like last year he made 18 birdies and an eagle, but he also made 11 bogeys and 2 doubles and a triple. Like, I just don't know if his aggressive mentality is really set up for this golf course. Like, like doing what he did at Bay Hill on 6. But if you noticed coming down the stretch on 18 at the Players, he hit iron off that. So there's a lot of times where, because of angles, right, into greens, like 5, he's telling us that he can hit it over that bunker easy on the left, which is that's amazing. But where your ball will end up on the angle to come in a pin, like I don't know if that's the play or
I'm not going hole by hole on this guy because I like him. I get it. I like him, and he's fun to watch. And we had the same conversation. You and I had the same conversation before the U.S. Open. We hadn't started our blog then, but we talked about this. Everyone's saying, he can't do this at a U.S. Open. And what did he do? He went out and did it. So it'll be fun to watch. He's he's turned into the one-man circus of the PGA Tour, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who else you like?
Rory's been consistent there. He's come out and said he needs to back it down and not try to hit it so hard. So is that something that he's kind of figured out here in the last 2 or 3 weeks? I mean, good. I mean, if he drives the ball like he can, I think he's going to be really tough to beat this week too. But
I like Rory, but there's got to be a little scrambled eggs going on between his ears because he's just not coming in with good form. He hasn't shown anything in the last month or something to, that really tells me that he's going to do well, but I cheer for him. I like the guy. So, I agree. He's a good dude. And he, when he wants to be, is the best player in the world when he wants to be.
Rahm, top 10 in the last 3 years, just became a father. Is he going to join the Spaniards to win another green jacket with Sergio and Olazabal and Seve in the past?
He didn't get to Augusta until
that whole deal. So.
He didn't get to Augusta until like Tuesday though, and he thought up into this past weekend because I think their little one was born like maybe Friday or something, or that he was gonna have to withdraw. So he came in hot, and I think he literally played like a 9-hole practice round, and that's about it. Now that being said, he's another special talent. So you can talk about it from both sides of the coin. Is he so excited and so at peace with himself that he's got, a little child, or is he worn out, worried about all that stuff? So my guess is that that's taken some energy out of him, and we won't see him with his A game. Just my guess.
JT is a favorite on a lot of people's lists, firing on all cylinders. They really say that there's, if you want to throw numbers out there, it's usually around your 5th or 6th year that you really kind of break out. 6th year. And here it is, his 6th year.
Yep.
He's been playing a lot of practice rounds with Tiger in the past to try to learn more about the strategy of the golf course. Again, I think he's got to be in the top 3 there, the favorites to win this thing. So
I agree. He looked pretty dominant at the Players, and he's a good story. He obviously has had some peaks and valleys here with losing his grandfather, and then that homophobic slur that he had. But again, he's a class guy, and I think there are a number of good stories, and we'll talk about Spieth here in a minute. But I think JT would be a good story as a champion, and he'd also be a fantastic champion. I'm sure that the guys that have green jackets are cheering for certain guys to get one so they can be part of that exclusive club. And I'm sure that a lot of guys would like to see JT get the jacket on Sunday.
Yeah. Again, you mentioned Jordan Spieth. Just what he's been doing. Top 5 fours and just one. Just been playing exceptionally well. It looks like he's got the driver figured out. His short game is just on spot right now. He's just chipping and putting really well. Iron play is strong too. So he loves the golf course. He loves the place. He's won twice there. So, I want to say about 5 months ago, you could probably get him at 60-1, and now he's like 12-1. So obviously, Jordan's a guy to really consider this week.
I couldn't agree more. He's got special talent, and he, as Chambly said the other day, he said that when Spieth stepped on his first Masters, maybe it was Duval that said it, but he said, man, he was awesome. And it was Justin Leonard. So see if I can name them all, but it was Justin Leonard that said that. And he's definitely a favorite of a lot of fans across the country, and I'd like to see him do well. Somebody else talk about Koepka real quick. I'm thinking about Patrick Cantlay because he's kind of been. It's not even a dark horse much anymore, right? They're talking a lot about him.
No. Yeah. So Cantlay is. He's playing consistently too. He's really good and just a great putter too. I think he's at that point where. I don't know if he's one away or one a couple years away, but he just consistently keeps playing well. And I just think he's one of those guys because of his putter. He's a great lag putter. But again, is it his year? I don't know. He's getting close though. It could be any the next 3 years. So
yeah, you never it's hard to predict that, but I 100% agree with you. And he just has, you never know what's going on inside a person, but he looks like he's at peace with himself. And I watched his interviews, and he's got his shit together. I mean, I think he's got a real good shot at it. So,
Yeah.
And he's another guy that he's easy to cheer for. He's not as outgoing. He doesn't have that outgoing personality that, some of the young Mavericks have. But again, he'll be fun to watch.
Koepka, yeah. I mean, you mentioned him. I don't get it, dude, to be honest with you. I mean,
why is he playing?
Huh?
Why is he playing this week?
I don't know. He just
you
wants
see him
to
limping around.
Wrong. I mean, he had surgery in mid-March, and he's been doing rehab for 7 hours a day since his surgery. And did you see what he's doing?
He can't even bend his knee,
So he bends his left knee when he bends down ready to putt, and the right leg goes straight out sideways.
Again, not my favorite. Not my favorite.
I mean, it's not a flat golf course. So
no.
I'm just wondering if he might throw a round in there, but I don't know if he's going to be. I mean, when you're telling us on the news reports that the key to his week is controlling his swelling, I mean, that's not right.
Hey, I will bet you right now. Hey, stay thirsty, my friends. I'll bet you a cocktail that if he shoots 73 or 4 or higher day one or day two, that if he looks like after day one that he's going to miss the cut, he WD-40s it. He's out of there. He can easily say, "Oh, God, my knee gave out." Blah blah blah. He took up whoever's spot on the top 50 would have been able to play. He took that spot away, and I'd rather not even talk about him. He's not my favorite.
So who do you like? Who's your long shot type of guys that you might think that not a lot of I know you threw Cantlay. He's probably just below the young. Maybe
I think that's a great question.
Is there anybody out there that might surprise you coming down the stretch?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And with the knowledge that you and I have that our fan base doesn't, is that you and I are going to do our picks for the Masters after the show. So I'm thinking Larry Mize, maybe. Maybe I'll take him. Maybe I'll take, I don't know, Sandy Lyle. I'm not going to tell you who my long shots are. You got to be out of your brain.
All right. Well,
were you fishing, weren't you? You were fishing. I can tell by that look on your face.
I wasn't fishing. I was just saying, is there something out there where,
I think there's some guys being overlooked.
They're not going to be your top 5 picks, but you want to throw somebody out there that just.
Okay. I'll give you 3.
Okay.
Corey Connors, Louis Oosthuizen, and Abraham Answer. Those 3 guys right there, I think no one's talking about them, and they all have, Answer's record isn't very long there, and Corey Connors is just, I think it's maybe his second, but he's in really good form, and so I answered your question.
Okay.
How about you, John? Now, you give me a little chicken for the bone.
So, well, I mean, he wouldn't be in this long shot deal, but I think another guy that's in that category of Cantlay would be Xander. I think Xander's one of those guys that you can throw in that.
I agree.
Category. Wow. I don't think guys like Colin, I mean, this is the first time that he's seeing the golf course in April, so you can throw him out.
Mark Lyle. Another guy we haven't talked about that's for sure on the list is there's 2 guys. First of all, Matt Kuchar. He's kind of in bad form coming in, but he's always good at Augusta. The other guy is Webb Simpson.
Yeah, and you know who you can throw in that whole deal is Lee Westwood. So you can throw Kuchar and Westwood and kind of Simpson into that kind of
another great story. Westwood's been a good story.
Old Man River, kind of been there 50 times and know how to play it. But another guy that I think if the golf course plays fast and firm, that plays pretty good on tough golf courses is Matt Fitzpatrick. I think he's kind of a guy that you possibly think about that could slip into.
I took him in one of my pools. Yeah. I agree.
So, but
you just have to look at. So you have to look at 2 things, in my opinion. You got to look at the ball strikers. You don't have to look at the great drivers because a lot of people miss a lot of fairways. But you got to look at the good tee to green, the iron play, and then you got to be a pretty decent putter to win around there. I mean, you got to have a good short game because it is it's quite the test. And not only is it a test like for you and I, if you and I went and played it, it'd be tough to hit chips or whatever. But then you factor in that it's the Masters, and you take a guy like Greg Norman, who lost to Faldo, just blew a huge lead. When it gets to Sunday, there is a big nerve factor in this deal.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that is going to come into play is how soft it was in November and how these guys were throwing in these irons and taking aggressive lines because the ball was stopping. And if it's firm and fast, they're going to have to take their shot in. And this is where the veterans of the Westwood, the Kuchers, the Simpsons, they play these breaks to get the ball close. And that's something that's going to be, the younger generation that's only played there a couple times. I think they'll struggle with that whole idea because, you just got to be able to experience it, and be able to learn from it. The other thing that too is quite interesting, which I don't know if it's going to really come into play, but they're not giving them green books this year. So what I started looking at is like, are they going to check every book? Take a green book that you had from the past and draw it in. Like it's not that hard, right?
Pretty sure that you don't want to try and skirt the rules of Augusta though, because you're not coming back. But
right. I'm just wondering if they're going to.
No, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Good question.
So,
somebody else I wanted to give a shout out to. We haven't talked about it, and really the whole, how do I say it the right way? One of the cornerstones of the Masters is always having top amateurs play. Bobby Jones was obviously always a lifetime amateur, and he wanted to make sure that amateurs from across the United States, now it's across the world, get recognized. And because there was no mid-am, and I don't think there was a Latino,
no Asian amateur, I don't think either.
Yeah. So there's only 3 amateurs playing this week. A couple of them are, you've got Joe Long and Charles Osborne that are, the British Am champ and the US Am runner-up, kind of no names. But there's a guy named Tyler Strafacci who won the US Am, and I want to give him a shout out. I'll be cheering for him because not only did he win the US Am last year, he won the North and South at Pinehurst, and he also won at my home course in Aiken. He won the Palmetto Amateur. So I will have a little rooting interest, always rooting for Kiz. Kiz could be a sleeper. I'm always rooting for Kevin Kisner, but I'm kind of keeping my eye on Strafacci this weekend too, just for fun.
And he's a Georgia Tech kid, right?
He is. Yeah. That's correct. So
you wanted to mention about the greatest thing about the Masters that you've experienced, and then your worst nightmare that you've seen at the Masters.
Yeah, I was curious what so I'll give you mine in the last years. I was just curious what your favorite win was and what your biggest disappointment was. And two that come to my mind, one of my favorite wins of all time was when Crenshaw won after Harvey Penick had died. And because he's such a gentleman and such an ambassador to the game, that was a pretty touching moment. And then I kind of alluded to it earlier. I mean, I'm not going to get to Scott Hoke fanning it or Ed Snead fanning it, there's a hell of a lot of guys that, could have had a green jacket, but I think the guy I always wanted to have a green jacket was Norman. And when he blew that, he had a couple chances to win, but when he blew that lead and Faldo won, I think that was a bummer for me.
I would say that my favorite win was watching Tiger win a couple years ago.
Yeah,
that was really cool because when you get to that age, you just don't know. And what
I agree with that.
With the back surgeries, you just don't know if he's ever going to do it again. And I thought that was really cool. The worst one was I'll add your Norman deal when Larry Mize chipped in on Norman.
Yeah.
To win that, that was kind of a dagger. So
the other one is Nicklaus's 86 Masters was pretty special.
Well, there you go. Yeah, you know what? You can chalk that one up there next to Tiger's win. That was pretty cool because I'm a freshman in college. That's right when the hook was in the lip with me, and I had changed from baseball to golf. So that's amazing. So that's a great point. That 86 Masters you can watch that back 9 till you're blue in the face. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
God, how many people have said that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what, Johnny, I am so excited. It's Wednesday evening before you imagine how excited we are to watch it. Imagine like those amateurs, or imagine all the first timers. How are they going to sleep tonight? How they going to sleep up in the bird's nest?
Sleeping like this, Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited. That's all I got heading in. I can't wait to talk next week because we're going to be talking about what's hopefully another epic weekend at Augusta.
Yes, and it's. I think it's the best week of golf. I get more excited about this than I do the U.S. Open, obviously the PGA and the Open Championship. But this week is just, usually if you can watch it from work, you go to work and you tell them, yeah, I'm really busy, but you're watching golf the whole entire time.
Exactly.
So, watching every golf shot. So You know, Scotty, for myself, I wish you nothing but the best of luck with your picks right after this, and enjoy the 2021 Masters. It should be exciting. And for all the fans out there, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you down the road.
Hit them straight.
Enjoy your fairways. Cheers.